Hey, hey, hey. I did not just start like that, but I did. And that's okay. We're here. It's Saturday, and welcome to Millennials Adulting. I'm Eve, and today I was gonna, we were gonna have a conversation, right? Me and Marie, we were gonna talk about the table. Unfortunately, she is under the weather this week, so I'm here by myself, but that's okay. I figured I'd take this time to kind of chat with you guys about what it is I even wanted to do over here on this channel, right? I know that maybe some of you are familiar with my other channel, Just Eve B, or maybe you follow me on X at Justice for Just Us. And if you don't, maybe you want to do that now. That's cool. Either way, if you're already familiar with how I've done things and the different things that I've promoted, maybe you thought I've been all over the place. And I'd say that you're absolutely right. I would probably blame the ADHD that's forced onto us with the programming and the artificial foods and the bullshit acid rain. And don't get me plebiscite talking, but essentially, I feel like there's a lot of factors that contribute to why my focus is all over the place. But I try to remain constant. I try to remain focused on the reason why we have all of these issues that plague our interests anyway, at least issues that need to be addressed, right? Because I'm not saying that you can't have a lot of things that you're interested in. No, I'm not saying that at all. I am saying that when it comes to doing what needs to be done for us to have a productive society, for us to exist as adults cohesively, I wanted to maybe chat with you guys about why I even have a whole other channel. Because let's face it, like I said, I am already a person who has a lot of interests and I've spoken about a lot of things, but on Just Steve B, I try to at least keep the focus on our reparative justice as Black Americans and then just justice for melanated people who are dealing with racism, white supremacy globally. I think it's fucked up. I, I okay. I think it's fucked up that people who might have the majority in the actual visible numbers don't do the things that I think that we do in the small numbers over here. But maybe there's a level of maturity that needs to happen within these groups before they can start to see the bigger picture. I'm not sure. I do know that our flag is older than all the other flags, but maybe that's just me being petty. I can be petty. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I am saying that millennials adulting, that's a real thing. Really, I feel like we got the internet and everything kind of went to shit, and then everything kind of went boom. And what I mean by that is whether you're on the older side of the millennials or the younger side of the millennials, we got to experience the best of both worlds for the most part. Some of you younger millennials, I feel like maybe you just weren't paying attention. Or maybe you just didn't have a cool older brother or sister who could kind of help you navigate through some of the things that I cherish and some of the things that we cherish as these little adults in the room, because that's what it is. We grew up in an age where the people who are older than us got exposed to the same thing as us at the same time. And they didn't actually get a chance to process all of what was going on. Not really, because they were working already. They were doing different things, raising families. I don't know that a lot of people had the time to sit and think about how technology would be influencing us as much as they could appreciate that the fact that technology was making things a little bit easier. You know, if you wanted to call your loved ones while they were out on the road or taking a road trip and you've got a car phone, well, that's some cool shit because you used to couldn't do that. And then even when you could do it, you kind of had to be balling. So, millennials adulting. I feel like maybe if there were a book, we wouldn't have so many excuses for why we don't know how to do some things. But then I think that I know that there's libraries that people have never been to because they said, after high school, I'm never opening another book. And that was it. They have not stepped foot in a library. I also know that some bookstores go out of business because people are not buying books. On the reverse, the Kindle is an app that people use all the time. So people are getting the quote unquote message from whatever it is that they're reading. Is there a difference between reading a book with paper or reading it on your tablet or on your device? Because I think that there is a difference, but maybe that's just me being an older millennial. I'm not sure. In the chat, is that just me? Do you get the same satisfaction? All right, look, I guess let me start over. Do you read? If you read, let me see it. Show me in the chat that you're a person who takes time to read a book. Oh, if you're not listening to the premiere, then I guess you could put it in the comments. But I'm curious because really, the way that I see how y'all talk online, I'm not saying that everybody has to have the same vocabulary as me, but I am saying that knowing the difference between some words can make a difference in the message. And if you don't even give a shit, check your spelling, then you might be saying president when you mean to say precedent. Is that like super picky? Am I being nitpicky, y'all? I don't. Maybe it's the teacher in me. Maybe it's the teacher in me. I will yield. It's the teacher in me. But I guess some of these teachers failed y'all. And that's why we are where we are. We've got a bunch of people who were given the playbook or instructions by people who really don't fuck with you. And that's the be all end all of it. So, like I said, Marie's not here today because she's not feeling well. I thought about having another co-host today, but I figured this is the best time to maybe just get it out there. What the fuck is millennials adulting, and why should I even listen to you, Eve? We should know it all self. But if you really know me, you know that that's not me. I am not a know-it-all at all. I actually try to go out of my way to let people know that I don't know everything. What I do know is that I know what I know. And until you can prove me wrong, I have a very firm belief in the things that I know. I also have a very strong feeling about how I believe in things as well. But there's a difference. And maybe as this channel grows and as you guys listen, you'll get the differences between what beliefs are and what knowledge is. But to what we've been talking about, at least since it got on the mic today, I guess this is a pause moment, because if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. I don't necessarily plan on talking all of the things that you're used to hearing me talk on the other channels that you've heard me speak. But I do think that some conversations need to be held, and I don't necessarily think that Spaces is the best place for it. Everybody doesn't need the mic. And I know, some of y'all say I'm being mean when I say that, because of course everybody's opinion is valid. Of course it is. Of course it is. But it's not. And I hate that you feel like that. I really do. I really hate that we have a whole generation that was reared with freaking participation trophies. But that is the millennial experience. We grew up saying that if you ain't first, you're last. And then at the end of the damn spectrum, you got people who get a damn prize for being there. You didn't do any work. You didn't even sweat, but you got a trophy. Fuck out of here. I feel like our generation, our generation is the generation that brought in a bunch of pussies. And excuse my language, because I know that that's not ladylike. So maybe I will get poised and have a better grasp at a feminine vocabulary. Maybe Marie will, osmosis on me, and I will do better with how I curse. But until then, it's a bunch of pussies out here. It's a bunch of beta bitches out here. It's a bunch of masculine women out here. It's a bunch of nonsense, really. And inside of the nonsense, you got people who just want to be acknowledged because they made it. I got into an argument the other day with this nigga who's not even from here, who lives in South Carolina. And all right, here's my problem. If you're not from here, then you probably shouldn't be so loud about what you think is wrong about here. No, what you should be loud about is how you can help make things better. That's just my thought, because I feel like if I were in someone else's home, I wouldn't be telling them about how they need to do better. I would be telling them about what I think they're doing great already and then asking how I could help them get to where they need to be. Because why wouldn't I want to live in a functional society? And I'd want to be a functional member, a productive member of that society. But no, you got people, they come over here and they feel like they can tell you what the fuck to do in your own house. And that was my whole argument, because this person, they went and they marched. I want to say it was like for Juneteenth or some shit. And I guess it was really hot where they are. But nobody asked anybody to march. I haven't asked anybody to march, and I don't know that any niggas around me asked anybody to go out and march and do anything for Juneteenth, as much as we've been trying to make sure that everybody is aware that there is a hierarchy in the reparative justice for this country. And, this is just what I do as a person, as a citizen in this great country, a citizen who is for reparations. Shout out to our Facebook group, Citizens for Reparations. But I digress on that topic and just kind of move to the fact that I got into this argument with this dude because he feels like he's got the way and I feel like I've got the way, or at least my way seems to be more diplomatic than his way. My way seems to be respectful, but I'm also in my home. And I feel like when people start disrespecting your home, they ain't no home training, right? But then you think about the fact that they're not even in their home, and I start to ask questions. And when the math ain't mathin', that's when people get uncomfortable. And you can get uncomfortable and bitch about it, or you can get uncomfortable and do something about it. So I think what we've decided as Black Americans, that when we have these types of disagreements with people who share our costume, it is in our interest to tighten the ranks, to ensure that people who are on the outside appreciate the role. Because let's face it, if we weren't such an accepting group of people, they wouldn't be here. Now, I know that there's going to be nuances with actual history dates and shit like that. And I am not a history buff as much as I've been exposed to a lot of information. And until somebody can give me evidence that falsifies the facts that I've been presented with regards to Black people and our role in the civil rights of this nation, you can get the fuck on with your little opinion about how I can't necessarily cite this information, as much as I know that you can't falsify it without whitewashing it. So back to the point. The point of today, I was trying to have a conversation with y'all about why I'm even here. And then I went and did what I said I wasn't going to do. But I guess it's because I'm here by myself. Maybe if Marie was here, she would kind of balance it out with that girly girl aspect that y'all keep telling me is missing from my spaces. But I also hear people who say that I have no issue there. So I don't know if it's just a bunch of haters, people who want me to be off my shit or what. But today, it's just me. It's just Eve. And I swear, I really wanted to talk to you guys about millennials adulting, about how, bookstores, I've seen so many bookstores go out of business because nobody's reading anymore. And I guess it's not even that they're not reading, it's just that technology is taken over. And I don't know how I feel about that, because I do like technology. I like that it makes things easy, but I don't like that I'm not having the same experiences. I don't like that the minis are not having the same experiences. I don't know how many of you guys have minis, because our age group, you might be a grandparent already, or you might be no children at all. It's kind of strange how fast life goes for some people. But I wonder how many of you out here are using the technology the way it's supposed to be used, or if you're abusing it. And if you're abusing it, then maybe you weren't ready for it. Because I don't know about you, but I remember getting the internet. Shit, I remember getting a car phone. This shit was strange because you couldn't talk to people unless they were at their destination. And then randomly now you could. And it's like, What are we going to talk about? And I'm saying that like I was using the car phone. I wasn't, because I was still real young. Everything kind of evolved really fast. The technology got very fast. It got very big, and then it got very small. And millennials, we are the generation who got to see it all happen all at the same time. And there's Generation X. I'm not saying that they didn't experience the internet when we did, but that's my point. They were already as old as they were when a lot of this technology started booming. And we were kind of babies. And as babies, there should have been a filter. And because the olders weren't necessarily plugged in, they're definitely not plugged in how we are plugged in now. I know y'all know. I know y'all. I I know that you got an old person in your phone right now who doesn't know how to take pictures, who zooms in the worst way, who puts the phone on speaker because it's easier for them to maneuver through life. They can't be on the phone and also take care of business. So, speakerphone is the way, or they can't hear because they're old. It's a bunch of different shits that make me laugh about how old people are. Don't be mad. I'm calling y'all old. That's just a fact. If you're older than the age of, let's say, if you're older than 65, then to me, you're old because that's like 30 years older than me. So if you don't agree with my age for what old is, then that might be because you're old. But I digress on that. And let me get back to what I was saying. Um, while there were already people who were adults when the internet came out, we didn't have people who already knew what was going on, like how we do now, right? Now, in 2024, you can tell your children, don't take pictures that you don't want people to see and post them on the internet because the internet is forever. And then you can hope that they will listen to you. And I want to say it's like 5 times out of 10. It might be a half and half type of situation where they listen or they don't listen. From there, you're going to have to deal with the consequences, whether it's they listened and they've been able to use this tool in a different way, or they didn't listen and now there's consequences for how they move. I've seen it doesn't have to be pictures, you guys. I know I'm transparent to my detriment, but it could be something like you got into a spat on Facebook and you're using all sorts of curse words and you're just looking all sorts of nasty and just foaming at the mouth. And somebody sends that to your boss and asks if that's the type of employee that they have working for them. And now you're in trouble because of some shit you said on Facebook. But maybe you weren't necessarily given internet etiquette. And that gets back to my original point of I don't know that there's a book that you can go get that's like how to adult. And I know you're gonna have olders and elders. Let me give some respect to some of these people. You're gonna have people older than us who are gonna tell us that we need to seek spiritual guidance. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't seek. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't seek spiritual guidance. What I am saying is that a lot of that stuff is gonna be an internal mechanism that has to work. And if it doesn't work, I am not the one to help you get there. I don't mean to be harsh about it, but there are so many other people who can speak to you and your spirit and give you answers that I can't. What I can do is tell you what I know. And then sometimes I'm going to tell you what I feel. And from there, maybe you didn't know some of the stuff I knew. Or maybe you did. Maybe you know more than me. And this is an opportunity for me to learn from you. But if you don't say anything, then I won't know anything. And if you know more than me, why don't you want to teach me? I think that that is the millennial experience. We are in a generation of adults who have had to figure it out all in real time, which, to be fair, that's not different from any other adult generation when they became adults. The difference is that things got very easy for us, but also things got very hard because we used to have people who had the experience before we got the experience. And as such, they were able to help us navigate through some of these things. All of us getting the internet at one time, it was almost impossible. The internet is undefeated, but it's a tool. And like all tools, you can hurt yourself with it, or you can build a damn house. And okay, I know you can't build a house with all tools. Sometimes you niggas get stuck on stupid in the worst way. And instead of trying to come to clarity, you will just bang your head against the wall. And then sometimes you will ask for sympathy. But it was you who banged your head against the wall. Self-inflicted wounds are the worst. But here on Millennials Adulting, I hope that we can have conversations where we can learn from each other, conversations where we can grow. I think it's past time to show that we can do this. Really. The old people that are in competition with us don't want us to win because they never got their chance to shine. And I'm sorry. I swear to God, I'm sorry that you didn't get your chance to shine like how you wanted to shine. But it's not your time anymore, little tink tink. It's time to go to bed.
I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed.
No, I'm just kidding. No, to that people who want to help us in our journey, it's not time for you to do anything more than continue speaking truth to power. Pass the game down. Tell us stuff. I've had the most interesting conversations with people who are 30 and 40 years my senior. And actually, people even older than that seem to have more fire than people younger than that. But I have a whole other theory about why certain age groups have certain fires. Maybe we'll talk about that one day. In the meanwhile, I hope that at least this little clip can give you some clarity about what it is that I want to do over here. And if not, let me just be succinct right now. We didn't get a playbook. So since nobody has a set in stone way for us to exist perfectly, harmoniously, I think it would be in our interest to learn as much as we can, all the time, literally. Life is learning, and then you die. And what you do with what you've learned, life can be real easy, or you can make it real hard. I feel like it's past time that we can show others that we understand why we're here, and we're not going to waste the time. I think that millennials are a generation of people who have shown that we're doers. We've gotten a lot done in a little bit of time, and they keep telling us that we're too young to do that. Well, now I'm old enough to run for president. I've been too young to run for president all this time, but now I can run for president, and I don't even want that shit. Really, I mean, I don't. I don't want the hassle of having to deal with people who don't understand what we're doing here. I want to focus on my family. I want to focus on the things that I like to do. But as it stands, a lot of us millennials have had to grow up a lot faster than we were supposed to. A lot of us have had to experience loss at ages that don't even make sense of people who should still be here. And with that in mind, I hope that this channel brings us together in a way that we know that life be lifing. But as long as we do what we're supposed to do, honestly, we can do what we need to do. I just feel like if maybe we had gotten a book that gave us a how-to on the things that we were going to experience, then maybe some of us wouldn't have these stuck on stupid moments. Look, I'm very consistent, persistent, insistent. I'm very transparent to a fault, but I don't know how else to be. Maybe all of this life that I've been lifing is going to teach me to be jaded and scorned and keep my secrets and not let anybody close, and then I can be the authority on things. Maybe. But until I get there, I'm having a really good time learning about myself, learning about the world. And as it stands, I'm still here every day. We're still here until you're not, because that's what life is. Life's about learning, and then you die. So, since you only die once, or you only die for real once, I think that it's in our interest to use the time that we have. I feel like the olders in the room, they never got a chance to shine. And that's not our fault. Some of us started shining a long time ago, but have had people absolutely and specifically in the way. I think that I'd like to be the adults in the room that get out of the way when it's time for us to get out of the way. But until then, it's our time. But if we don't know what we're doing, then what are we doing here? So maybe I've been repetitive. Maybe not. Maybe you understand what it is I want to do. Maybe you don't. But I think that at my very big age, I'm so comfortable saying that I don't know it all and that I'm not going to know it all. Because at the end of knowing it all, there's going to be something else I don't know. And I just mean because that's how life goes. Or maybe that's how my life goes. I don't want to be a person who gets to the end of something and says, that's it. I don't got nothing left. Because I feel like that would be pretty bleak. And maybe it's because we've been old souls for a long time that now that we're here and we can make these decisions, why not go all out? You only die once, right? You live life every day. But death, that only happens once. Unless you're a coward, they get to die every day. Choose wisely. So that's our episode of Millennials Adulting. I hope you found that this is a channel that you want to support. And if that's the case, make sure you hit the bell so you're notified when we drop another episode. Make sure you hit the like so the algorithm knows that you rock with us. And make sure to share. Because, I mean, why not?